In a previous tutorial, I covered the fundamentals of creating a lyrics track in xLights. Now in this short tutorial, I'm going to take it a little step further and cover how to really nail the timings down on a lyrics track. So I'm not going to rehash the things I've already covered, so we're going to start this tutorial at the point where we've created our phonemes, but we've not repositioned these phonemes. So the first thing I need to do is zoom in, because we're now going to be working at a more detailed level. And this is now your chance to go through and really verify that the words, like are, you, the phonemes are actually truly matching the exact position. So what I like to do is go through all of the song and really pull these in by listening to the music. Now I'm not going to play any of this music, so it doesn't get blocked on YouTube. But what I tend to do is I'll highlight what I think is the word, and then I'll play that back and it will play. And then I'll also play outside of the word and listen to see if I hear the voice kick in. If I hear it kick in, I'll pull it back, and that will allow me to really nail the start of the word and the end of a word also. So then I'll go through and I'll pull all of these into place. So that's the first step, getting the words actually nailed onto their position. The next step is I analyze both the syllables of a song and the size of the consonants that the phonemes are displaying, and I'll explain what I mean by that when I go here and I look at this word. So this one looks fine from a consonant size standpoint, but because it is a multi-syllable, the word is hang-ing, that you can see this is the transition of the ging part of this word. So you must find where the word says hang, then ging, and then you will position this at the position of the transition of that word, and you would go through and do that. But at the same time, I'm also looking, I'll do this because this is how it was when I outputted it, I'm looking for things like this. This is consonants and vowels. Now when we're speaking, the mouth shape tends to hold the vowels longer in most cases. Obviously this is not an absolute rule, and you will fine tune this, but what you'll tend to find is you want to pull the vowels back, make them much smaller. If you think, wall, it's going to do a O sound in this case, the phoneme, but we only want the W to be held for such a short time, and the L. Let's go along and look a little bit more. And then we see the same here. So every. So there's actually 3 syllables here, every. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find the V element in here. So we'd play back until we find the V, and then we would pull this back. And we would also decrease the size of it because the V is only small. Now we've got an anomaly here because for the re part, there's no actual R component in the phonemes here. It's just an E and an E. So we won't actually see a transition. So what I tend to do is, rather than moving like this, just separate them slightly. So what will happen is the mouth will just briefly close, so you will witness the transition. And then finally, another thing I do is sometimes you'll get a word that ends on something like etc. We might have one here, let's see. Yep, so you see here the word does. It's etc, ai, etc. But then the next word starts with etc. So if we left this like this, you would see no transition between the word does and he. So the best thing to do is, if you can just separate these slightly, just put a gap. That's the minimum size I can do. So there's a little bit of a pause between. So what will happen is you'll say the word does, and there'll be a little, the mouth will go to the resting position just for a short time, so that when you play your lyric track back, you will see that transition. So in summary, the things to look for: first, nail the position of the words. Make sure the start and end is absolutely spot on. Next, resize all of the consonants so that, here make sure, that one's okay, but this M, you would pull the consonant back smaller. Sometimes xLights gets it perfect. Then, as an example here, look at the size of that L. We would never say sleigh, we would say sleigh, so we can pull this L back. Then also reposition the syllables, so make sure that when we're saying a word like every, that we're positioning the syllables to the correct position. And then finally, put gaps where you will not see a transition, like in this case. So small little gap. So I hope you found that useful, and until next time, see you later.